Good morning. Thank you for coming to our 2020 performance evaluation training, and happy Monday, by the way. It's my favorite day of the week. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about the deadlines, and then we'll move into the system and how to use it. We'll give you some basic information on the evaluation itself, what the ratings mean and how you rate people. We'll talk about the goals, how to set the goals for the next year and what we expect from that. Then we'll show you all the resources that are available on our website so that you can see all the help that we have for you. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, starting January 1, we're going to a calendar year performance evaluation period. That means evaluations will be from January 1 to December 31st of every year. For 2019 only, which is the period you're about to evaluate, it's going to be March 1 through December 31st. And that's because January and February were included in last year's evaluation period. The due date for all evaluations to be completed, that means it goes through the whole cycle, and the last part is signed by the employee, is March 16th of this year. Thank you. So now let's talk about the system. First of all, know that it's the same system you've always used. We anticipated going to a new system and it didn't work out. So it's the same system you've used, and the process is the same as well. There are two ways that you can access the system. This right here is the website for our Employee and Labor Relations, which has all of our resources and also the login. So I'm just going to show it to you. So this is the main page, tells you information about it. This is the login. So I'll press that button. And that's how you log in. This one takes you directly to that login page. So it bypasses that initial screen where it has all that information on it. And when you log in, it's the same. It's your NMSU username and password. It gets you into the system. So who's evaluated in the system? So you're going to evaluate every regular exempt and non-exempt employee who was employed from March 1 to December 31st. That includes all new hires, regardless of when they were hired during that period. So if they were hired November 1, they'll be included in the system. December 1, included in the system. Any questions about that? Okay. Faculty, term, temporary postdocs, they are not evaluated using this system. And once evaluations are complete, they become a part of the person's personnel file. You don't have to print out a copy and send it to their file. The electronic copy is what's in their file. We recommend that you use those following browsers: Firefox, Chrome, Safari. Internet Explorer will sometimes have display issues with our system, so I would try one of those first. So let's talk a little bit about the change as a result of FLSA. You know, there were 179 employees who changed from exempt to non-exempt on January 1. They needed to be evaluated based on their status in 2019. If you had selected them after January 1 and put them in your inbox, it would have created the form based on their status on January 1. So they needed to be selected and added to your inbox prior to January. So we did that on December 12th and 13th of last year. ELR staff added them already. So if you're one of those supervisors and you open up your inbox and you see employees already in there, don't delete them. They're probably those people who went from exempt to non-exempt. But if you have any questions, just give us a call. So the evaluation system, like in other years, you log in using your NMSU credentials. This is what you will see when you first log in. Right here is where you will access evaluations from previous periods. The most recent previous period will be what you see here. If you select this button, it'll show you the other periods that you have in your system, and you can select a different time frame, and it'll pull up the evaluations for the people you've evaluated in the past. This is what you'll see when you open your screen. This is your inbox. And remember, there won't be anything in there unless you had some people moved. To get your employees into the system, you're going to select employees. It'll bring up a list of all your employees. This is what it'll look like. This supervisor only had one employee in there. This is our sample, but there'll be a list of all the employees that you'll evaluate. And the way to get them in there is you are going to, this is the name, you're going to select them and I'll put it in the inbox. To evaluate them, once it's in your inbox, you select their name. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you select their name to start their evaluation. So this is what you'll see. Information about the employee and their position. There's two parts to the evaluation system: the past performance and planning for the year ahead. So in the past performance, there's parts 1 and 2. These are all the categories you're going to use to rate your employee on things like whatever, basically if it's non-exempt or exempt, there'll be job knowledge. I can't remember what all the other categories are, but those are the categories. This right here is where you're going to assess them based on the goals you set last year. They will automatically populate this form, so whatever goals you set last year will show up in this form, and that's where you'll rate how they met their goals. This part is the planning for the year ahead. So there are 3 parts to that as well. Goals for the year ahead is mandatory. That's where you're going to set some new goals. Professional development, if you want, you can set some professional development goals. It's not required, it's optional. Areas for improvement. So as you complete these, the system will score your employee up here. If that overall score is 4.55 or less, you will need to complete areas for improvement based on those things in here that they needed to improve on. Okay? So preparing for the evaluation, let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, self-assessment. There is a self-assessment form that's available that you can use. It's not in the system itself. It's in that first page we went to, and I'm actually going to show it to you a little bit later, that you can use to get your employees' input. Now, doing that helps to establish a good rapport. You're talking to the employee, you're getting their feedback on how they feel they did, any challenges they had, and where they thought they excelled. This is actually where you get the form, which I'll show you later. Give your employee time to complete the form, and then consider having a pre-evaluation meeting to discuss the assessment. So you can send them the form, you can email it to them, give them a couple weeks to fill it out, set a meeting with them where you can both go over their self-assessment before you actually do their evaluation. Like I say, it's optional, but we find it really helpful to do that if you can. So here's the ratings. You want to accurately rate the performance. And sometimes you should agree as a department what those ratings mean in relation to the work that you do, because you want everybody to be on the same page and it to be consistent and everybody in the same department rated similarly for their performance. So here are the ratings. They haven't changed. And we're going to go over just guidelines for what each of these mean. So first of all, fails to meet. That's where the performance is substandard. This person probably requires a high degree of supervision and direction. Deficiencies are consistent and ongoing, and they're clearly evident and specific. Remember, you're rating people on each of those categories, so they may have one category that falls in this area and a different category that falls in a different area. Needs improvement. Performance does not meet all essential requirements, or occasionally they fall below. The work requires frequent guidance and checking. Meets expectations. Performance consistently met expectations in all their areas of responsibility, and the quality of the overall work is very good. Meets expectations normally means they're doing what they're supposed to do and they're doing it well. Everybody's doing their job. Exceeds. Exhibits high overall performance, routinely goes beyond what's expected or the essential requirements, and the quality of work is excellent. And the last category is exemplary. So this is where they clearly and consistently demonstrate extraordinary accomplishments, and they made an exceptional or unique contribution to your department and to the work. Others in similar roles are rarely equal the performance of this caliber. Now, exemplary is obviously a rating that you can use. It's probably not common to see someone In exemplary, you really need to think about what it means to determine if they really truly fit that category. Yes?
That's always been in the performance evaluation?
The question was if that's always been in the performance evaluation. Yes. So let's talk about some of the concerns about ratings. One is inflating the rating. Inflating the rating means that you score them higher than you should have based on their performance. This gives the employee a false impression on how well they're doing. They think you've told them they're doing better than they really are doing. It doesn't address any deficiencies when you do that. It restricts their potential for advancement, and it also discourages your high performers. Your high performers are being rated similarly to your middle of the road performers, and sometimes that's what happens. Depressing the rating, rating them lower than they really deserve. So that reduces their morale and their drive. It tells the employee their work is not appreciated. Some employees will stop performing at their full potential if they don't think they're being recognized and appreciated for it. And it discourages others from trying to exceed expectations if they feel that there's no reason to, because they're not being told they're valued. So setting your goals. Everybody should be familiar with SMART goals, so this is just a refresher. When you set your goals, SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, they're relevant, obviously, and they're time-based. So as an example, if you're a manager, we're working at Walmart, and I tell you that I want you to increase sales by 4% in the electronics department by the end of the first quarter. That's your department. It's specific, it's measurable, you gave it a time frame, it's attainable, relevant, time-based. That's an example of what a SMART goal is. Okay. Choosing goals. Again, choose job-related goals that support your department. Also choose job-related goals that support LEADS 2025. Now remember, that's our strategic plan moving forward. And there was an email that went to all supervisors that provided a link to an instruction sheet that shows you how to align to LEADS 2025. And there's also an instructional video. It's already out there as well. If anyone wants a copy of the instructional sheet, we have them here if you want to grab one on your way out. Aligning the goals to LEADS 2025 is strongly encouraged, but it is optional. So if you're having difficulty do that, don't let that stop you from proceeding with the evaluation. Don't let it hold you up. And then there's professional development goals. Those are geared towards the individual, and performance improvement goals if their score was an overall 4.55 or lower. So you're done with the evaluation. You've completed it. Now what happens? So this is the process for the evaluation cycle. This is the supervisor completes the evaluation. It gets submitted electronically to the next level approver. The next level approver either sends it back for some kind of editing or approves it. The supervisor receives a notification that it's been approved and schedules a meeting with the employee to discuss the evaluation. After that meeting occurs, the evaluation, say, is reviewed, and the supervisor signs it after that discussion, and it gets routed to the employee who electronically acknowledges the evaluation. So this whole process is what needs to occur before March 16th, or by March 16th. And this flow chart is actually under resources on the Employee and Labor Relations page. I'm going to show you later how to get to that if you just want to look at that. So here is resources that are available. So again, we're back to our main page. Remember, this is information about the system, deadlines. This is that button you press to log in. Down here are a lot of resources that you can use. This is that goal sheet that tells you how to align the goals to LEADS 2025. There's an online user guide. Perhaps you need refreshing on how you navigate through the system, or if you're a brand new supervisor, this will help you. This is the routing flow chart. There are some FAQs based on exempt and non-exempt. Here's the self-assessment form. There's one for exempt and for non-exempt. I won't go through all of the resources, but those are kind of the main ones you might use. Like say, if you need information, it's all on here. Inside the evaluation itself, when you get ready to assess someone, there's also a link to the user guide. Where is it? Online user guide. And there's also a link to LEAD's 2025 goals and objectives. And I believe there's also a link to the video that gives you a little snippet on how to align the goals. So what questions do you have about the information that was presented? Go ahead, don't be shy. Yes.
I think I might know the answer, but just to make sure, if you have an employee who's going off of probation, let's say it's in March, around the same time the annual is due, then you could just use the same information from the end of probation to put into the annual?
Well, the question is, if you have an employee whose probation is ending at the same time as these annual evaluations are due. And the answer is you use one evaluation for both. So you'll use the electronic evaluation form, and it'll count for the end of probation and the annual evaluation. And I know you'll probably have to print it out because I think you have to do a PAF to end their probation, but you'll just do the one form.
Okay.
Make it easy on you. Any other questions? Well, good. Great. Well, then you're all prepared. So you can go back to your offices and start evaluating. Thank you.